So the properties of coils of wire to act like a magnet when a current is passed through it is what's used in speaker design. So as I said earlier, the movement of the speaker cone is analogous to the sound wave that's going to be created by it. It has the same amplitude and it has the same frequency. So the magnetic field change also has an amplitude, how strong it is, and that can be in both directions, and how quickly it changes, the frequency. So that means that the electrical signal that's feeding that coil of wire has an amplitude and frequency that could be plotted just like our waveforms before. Now, just another quick example of electromagnetism. Old doorbells used to work this way. Say if you can imagine over on the left there's a bell, and this is the state when you're actually pressing the doorbell. The central bar, iron bar, is repelled by the magnetic field and hits the bell. You take your finger off the doorbell, it kind of comes back in, it's retracted by a spring or something similar. You press the doorbell again, this shoots out and hits the bell. Now, it works both ways with electromagnetism. Electricity can create a magnetic effect, but the other thing can happen as well. Magnets can induce an electrical current inside wires. So if you have a coil of wire and if you pass a magnet into it, this stirs movement in the electrons, which creates an electrical signal. So you see, as I move this bar magnet down through that coil of wire, this would register an electrical current. Now that's very useful because that's how generators work. That's how the alternator works on a car. And electromagnetism is also involved in how speakers work, how microphones work, how vinyl cutting works, and how recording to tape works. So electromagnetism is the essence of analog audio. A microphone, a dynamic microphone, is in effect the opposite of a speaker, in that it's not moving sound in the room. Sound is actually moving a fixed plate on the microphone. And attached to that plate, sorry, it's not a fixed plate, it's a movable plate. And attached to that movable plate, you have a coil of wire that's sitting inside a magnet. Now, as the vibration of the sound moves the diaphragm of the speaker in and out, that coil of wire has its electrons disturbed by the magnet. And if you were to take measurements of the amplitude of the disturbance and the frequency of the change, it would be the same amplitude and frequency as whatever the sound was hitting the microphone. So the microphone turns sound into different energy. It turns sound into vibrational energy with this plate moving backwards and forwards. Then it's turned into magnetic energy, and the magnetic energy is turned into electrical signal. Now this electrical signal, again, has the same amplitude and frequency as the initial sound. You can have a positive electrical signal, a negative electrical signal, and both of those have a strength associated with them. Strong, weak. And the strength can be positive or the strength can be negative. You can have a weak negative or a weak positive. Okay, so if you imagine this is our speaker cone, there's an electrical current coming in. This is being dragged in and pushed out, and this is just vibrating the air into the room, creating the sound. Now if we take this principle and we get rid of the speaker cone, you have an electrical current which is vibrating in and out of piston at the same frequency and amplitude as the audio. Now, if instead of a speaker cone, we were to turn this way, and we put a really sharp point on the end of that. Now, we move this sharp point over the surface of a disc, what you get is a record of the movement of this in time. Yeah, so this is wobbling and going up and down with the same amplitude and frequency as the sound wave. And now we've captured the movement of the needle as a groove. And the groove runs from the outside of the disc to the inside of the disc. And now if we put a more sensitive needle back in that groove and instead set it up so the movement of the needle creates changes, so that the movement of the needle creates a vibration in a coil of wire that sits inside a magnet, then that'll create a tiny electrical current, which will have the same amplitude and frequency as the groove that's on the record, which of course has the same amplitude and frequency as the vibrating point that cut the groove on the record, which has the same amplitude and frequency as the original sound that was recorded. So you've sound being turned into magnetism, being turned into electricity, being turned into a vibrating cutting point that's dragged over a piece of plastic, and then you can still put something which reads that vibration cut into the plastic, and you'll get back an orchestra, a rap record, whatever, and it sounds great. Okay, so what we have is a cone of paper with a needle sellotaped at the end, nothing in the cone. We have a record, which I don't really care much about because I'm going to put an actual sewing needle on it while it's moving, so it's not going to like that. And I have a turntable that's turned off. So that's what like it was turned on. You can hear a little bit of noise there from the needle on it. Well, let's just take all the power off it now. So now it's just free running. And I should be able to use this just like a gramophone. So I'll spin this with my finger. So my hand rotates the record, and the groove in the vinyl vibrates the needle that I place into it, and then the needle vibrates the paper cone vibrates the air, and then we hear that as sound. Where's the phone? Play it backwards. Let's try another one. Yeah. Muffole Link, Pamsfield Road. Okay, let's try that. Again, thank you to a man called Pet Shop Dave for donating these vinyls he didn't want. So the sound is encoded as a scratch on the surface of the vinyl. That scratch vibrates the needle, which is tied or taped tightly to the cone. So the scratch vibrates the needle vibrates the cone of paper, which vibrates the volume of air inside it, which we then hear as sound.